Some Bloomberg headlines that the NTSB is saying the 737 NG needs safer engine inlets, which could result in fixes to about 7,000 planes. You see Boeing's gone negative. Dow still down 111. Boeing had been one of the champions of the Dow earlier this morning, but that obviously has turned around. Home Depot remains the drag as retail continues to be on pace for pretty much the worst day of the month.
Yeah, retail's just getting hammered. It's incredible. Just to go back to that theme for a second, you've got names like Macy's, Nordstrom, L Brands, Gap. They haven't even reported earnings. Those come later in the week, and you're seeing major sell-offs in those names as well. Another name to keep an eye on is Slack. It's trading around 20 or 21 and change, so well below that IPO price earlier in the year. And of course, we're seeing that as Microsoft hits a new high, and you've had report out there that Microsoft has added to its competing network, and so investors are reacting in that share price today as well.
Oh, indeed. Teams, I think 20 million users versus 13 million for Slack.
That's right. Greater than 20 million.
Right. On the Boeing news, let's turn to Phil LeBeau and figure out exactly what this means. Again, just the Bloomberg headline for now. Phil, what do we got?
Well, this is the NTSB doing a final report, Carl. Remember the Southwest Airlines accident where you had a passenger who was partially sucked out a window following a fan blade on an engine that came off and then went into the fuselage of the plane? This report has to do with the inspection of those engines as well as recommendations from the NTSB. Now, these are 737 NG models. That's the previous generation before the 737 MAX. And while the headlines call for perhaps some reinforcement on the engine inlets and some inspections, this is likely going to be an airworthiness directive, and we're still waiting to find this out from the FAA, an airworthiness directive that will call for perhaps greater inspection and maybe some modification on those engine inlets. But I don't think this is going to be a case where you're seeing these planes taken out of service. So the initial reaction that we're seeing in Boeing shares where it's sold off, that may stabilize a little bit. Not a huge surprise that the NTSB in its final report said, look, we want some modifications when it comes to securing these engines and reinforcing the nacelles of the engine so that if there is a fan blade that comes loose in the future, that it does not impact the fuselage. Guys, back to you.
Meantime, Phil, very quickly, 737 MAX, getting more orders for that?
Yep. Yeah, not surprised. The Dubai Air Show is going on right now. That is not as big of an air show as Farnborough in England or the Paris Air Show, but it's still a significant one for the Middle East. And Boeing today announcing orders for 50 737 MAXs. Some of those are firm. There are also some commitments for future orders, options for future orders. So this is what you guys get with a duopoly. You're either going to go to Airbus or you're going to go to Boeing. And in this case, a couple of airlines have said, we're going to Boeing.